And welcome back to another episode of the Peter Callis podcast. We are here. I've got a fluffy little dice thing going on here, which I'm really impressed with. Hopefully it gets rid of all of my P's for Peter. And that is a nice intro, isn't it, Peter Callis? How are you?
It looks like the dice that people used to hang in their car in the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do it.
I should be a different person. I should sound very, very differently. We have a very special podcast today. I'm going to also introduce Dennis and our special guest today, Nicole Chamoun.
Hey!
Woo! Yeah, this is great. This is great. How you been, Dennis?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been flat out since we've opened up. I've absolutely run off my feet, doing a whole lot of different stuff. But yeah, I'm just working 7 days and just not stopping. So, and that's going to go through. I'm kind of really solidly booked until first week of Feb. So
that's excellent. I'm definitely going to be hitting you up for money. So that's really, really good.
I'll send you
really
some.
Good.
I'll send you some weed.
Yeah, you can do that. I take sandwiches as well.
I'll send you some sandwiches.
Dog food for the dog.
Yeah, exactly. So, Nick, this is great that you're here, and I love the topic that we are going to be talking about today. It's
First of all,
though,
I think her hair is dynamic.
The hair is dynamic. You know what they say? Short is in.
Short is in.
Short is in.
For those playing at home, as we're on a podcast, we're talking about Nicole's hair, which I don't know if you've known her for a long time. She used to have this amazing, luscious, long, dark curls.
Kind of like Dennis's hair now.
Which went to no hair, which went to very short hair. And now it's very short and it's very blonde and it's absolutely amazing. It looks fantastic.
But you've had your hair short for a while now, haven't you, Nick?
It's been about 6 months. 6 months. Yeah. I mean, I had it short for a role, and then as soon as that finished, I was like, "Wow, it's time to mix it up."
But
you look amazing.
Beautifully.
You look amazing. So the topics that we're going to be talking about today are about you, Nick. And first, we just wanted to sort of get like a bit of an introduction. You know, how did you come to meet Mr. Callis here, who you've got a beautiful background there in the stage. You do, Callis?
Why is he squinting like there's sun in his eyes?
No, that's his sexy look.
That's because it's because he needs glasses and he refuses to wear them.
I have glasses. I just don't know how to use them. Don't ask.
So yeah, Nick, what introduced you to the Melbourne Actors Lab, Peter Callis, and tell us about your experience of working with Mr. K.
Well, I was studying the Meisner technique with an incredible teacher. Her name was Simone Young. I want to say at the Actors Playhouse or the Neighborhood Playhouse. It was one of those two, but it was in affiliation with one of those in New York. And she was incredible, and Meisner was incredible. I studied that for about 8 years, and then she went off to have a baby and she closed the school down, and I am lost without class, especially if I'm not working, and I wasn't working then. I hadn't worked in like a long time. And so actually Mark Diaco, a fellow early labbie, he recommended Peter Callis to me in the lab, and I came to check it out one night with him, and I never looked back. And that was, Peter, how many years now?
Okay, it's got to be at least 10 years ago. Because
at least 10
years. We were at the old lab on Inkerman Street.
Yeah, and I think he'd only been there for about 12 months or 2 years, maybe. But so early days. So I'd say roughly 12 years. I was studying with Peter like full time for at least 4 or 5 of those years, and then I started to book work and I got busy with that, and so it became more of drop-ins, but also like when there were specific things or characters that I needed to work on, I would come to class and I would put it on the floor there, which was like so important and so useful.
What were the early gigs? Were there like little commercials and stuff like that?
It was Kick, motherfucker. She was core cast of Kick.
My first ever audition, I landed, and it was a lead role in a SBS TV series, and that was in 2006. But then after that, I did one guestie on City Homicide, maybe 12 months after, and then I didn't work for 10 years.
Wow.
And by saying that I didn't work professionally. I didn't get paid to work, but I worked harder than I'd ever worked. I went to class, I did short films, I did theatre, I developed my own work. I found my passion for acting, which I hadn't had before. I was young and naive and didn't really understand the work that it took. And so I'm grateful for that break. So I was able to kind of find myself and find my voice and find my craft.
And did you have any training before Kick, or you just went in that completely fresh?
I studied performance at Vic Uni, which I didn't. I tried out for Deakin Uni drama twice, and both times they rejected me.
Yeah, they rejected me too. They rejected me too. Yeah, no, it's good that you don't. I know people who graduated from those classes, and trust me, they're really boring.
They teach.
But even
They're really fucking boring.
you had to audition for dance and drama, and I'm like, I don't want to be a dancer. That's not. And anyway, so I didn't get into that, but I got into Vic Uni, and Vic Uni was a Bachelor of Arts majoring in performance, which was awesome because I didn't know that there were other facets of the industry. I thought it was just acting. And at Vic Uni, you don't study acting. You study lighting technician, and you study. But it's important how to like put together a proposal to get funding for a production, how to stage manage, how to all the other elements,
The business side of it.
the business and stagecraft elements that are separate to acting, which I'm really glad I learned because it taught me that I don't have to wait to be employed to do the thing I love. I can do it myself.
Nice.
So I'm glad I did that, and also it was the fallback. I could do an extra year and become a teacher if I really. If shit hit the fan.
If shit hit the fan, you could do that.
And so far, I'm okay. No shit has hit no fan.
So far, so good. So far, so good. So, Nick, with your, how long have you been getting solid work for now?
2017.
Yeah.
Well, but in saying that, I did a guest. My agent dumped me after 10 years, and then I hustled.
I just dumped my agent after 10 years because I just like, I can't be fucked.
It was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was stale, and they had lost any hope in me, and so them sacking me essentially made me sit down and really work out whether this is something I wanted or not. And if it was something I wanted, I needed to get to work and hustle. And I did. And I reached out to anyone who ever said a kind word to me in the industry, casting agents, directors, whoever. I reached out to all the casting directors and let them know that I was freelancing for a short amount of time until I found a new agent. And off the back of that, I got an audition for Dr. Blake through Lou Mitchell, who I love. And I booked that job, and that was the catalyst for the change. So within 6 months of that guestie, I booked Safe Harbour, and then Romper Stomper, and then on the ropes, and then after On the Ropes, I didn't work for 3 years, and and I think that's important to acknowledge that.
Wow, was it that long?
I was going to say, was it that long?
Wow.
It was that long. I mean, look, there was COVID. I had some personal stuff going on. There was other things, but it was 3 years. And I think it is important for people to know that, because I would be classified as a working actor in this country, and I didn't work for 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's just the nature of the beast. And so I just finished my biggest role to date, which was the lead of a new 8-part 1-hour series for ABC titled Troppo, on the Gold Coast, which was lots and lots of fun.
And that's why you got a tan?
And that's why I've got a tan. And, it was a very different role for me. I'd never played anyone like her before, which was awesome. What was the question?
I don't know if there was a question.
By the way, it's important to note that 3-year break is a very common thing, and that's what happens with a lot of actors, that they get a gig and they think there's one coming around the corner, and then years go past with nothing.
Yeah.
you know, and usually they run out of money because they think, oh, I made X amount of dollars, I'll spend it like it's happening next week, and 2 years later, you go, what happened? You go, I thought I was going to get it. It's
Yeah.
part of the reality of our gigs.
That's what I did.
You know?
It's part of it, especially in
That's
this
exactly what I did.
Yeah.
It's what a lot of people do, and I saw a lot of my friends do that, and so when I knew how hard it was because I didn't work for so long. I knew how hard it was to book that job, and so I was very careful with my money.
Yeah.
And so I made it last. It's because I didn't know when the next job was coming. And so I'm very careful with how I spend my money because nothing is promised to you, nothing. Yeah. And that's why like people think you get paid so much as an actor in Australia, but you don't because you don't work for a really long period of time. So it's not a lot of money. It's not.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
No, it is. And I'm probably the example of someone who didn't look after their money. And as soon as I got big stuff, I thought I was going to get more stuff and I just never did. And I just spent all the money. So,
but even in LA,
good example.
Even in LA, like my darling wife, you know, used to be an accountant to a lot of big names. She said they would run out of money because they got $1 million and they thought they're going to get $1 million next year. And they're buying $1 million home. And they go, wait a minute, you just bought $1 million home, you made $1 million. It has maintenance, and 3 years later they've in trouble. You know, it's an important thing to learn with acting that it's till you get the next one and the check clears, hold on to it. You know,
hold on to it. 10% savings, 10% investment. That's all I'm going to talk about with finance and acting today. That's it.
Correct. So Nicole, what happens having come off a big project like Troppo, which hasn't launched yet in a sense? You know what I'm saying?
No. Early next year. We're not allowed to say when.
Does the industry know you exist, and does the industry pay attention to you?
I think it's safe to say that I have built a really good reputation for myself within the industry. I think casting agents know who I am. I think directors know who I am. Yes, and there's a very big difference between the industry recognizing who I am and the Australian public recognizing who I am. Right. I don't have a profile in Australia. It's very hard to like, you know, I have to get a dress for the Logies, and like it's like pulling teeth. No one wants to put a dress on me because I don't have a bazillion followers on Instagram, and I don't have a profile. But no, I think it's safe to say that people know who I am now, and I think perhaps prior to this role, they knew me for a very specific type of role, and I think after this, that's going to change again.
It's going to change. It's going to get completely open to everything. You know.
Well, let's explore that a bit more because I think I know, but what are the specific types of roles that what were you seen as beforehand?
Well, most of the roles that I've gone for and landed have been kind of based on the character's cultural heritage, which has been like in the Arab world, mostly Muslim characters. Some incredible projects, amazing writers. I got to work with the most wonderful people and some incredible characters. But yeah, I started to be pigeonholed, and I thought that after On the Ropes, that more doors would open up for me, or that I would be allowed or considered for other roles, and it didn't really happen. And I was getting quite frustrated with all of that. And then the New Look happened, I guess, which kind of forced everyone to think differently when casting me. They couldn't put me in a hijab anymore. I don't fit that breakdown. So I don't think that narrative doesn't exist for me anymore. And I'm so grateful for that.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
And once this show comes out, like this character, the creator said to me, this character was written for a white girl. But you came along and you gave what you gave, and that was her. And so it's for the first time ever, my character's cultural heritage is not discussed. We don't mention it.
God.
It has nothing to do with anything. And I'm not against that, but only when it serves the story.
Yes, I haven't heard any of this, and I'm so glad to hear it because
Okay, great.
yeah,
There was one point where they said to me, you know, there was the mother, her mother.
right.
Should her name be insert something
Right.
stereotypical here? And I was like, no, like make her a Sarah, make her a Jane. Why?
Yes.
Why does it have to be that? Like it's not part of the narrative. Just let it be there simmering in the background and allow
Right.
people to have their own idea. You're gonna look at me and realize that and recognize that I'm not, you know,
It's there, but you don't make it about that. I think that's beautiful. I think
not
that's
about
absolutely
that.
beautiful.
This character's
Yeah.
journey is so complex and separate to that, and it's not necessary. And so yeah, we just left it alone and we allowed the story to tell itself. And I'm really grateful to them, and I'm grateful that they asked my opinion when it came to some of that cultural stuff. Like in the house, should we show that? I was like, no, you don't need to show anything. No artifacts, no
Nice.
nothing.
Nice.
Like just as if she was a Sarah. Let's just play it like that. Like it's not necessary. I fought really hard for that with this one. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes next. Yeah.
Out of all the roles that you've worked on, which is the one you've embraced the most? This one here?
I've embraced them all. I embraced Safe Harbour. I embraced On the Ropes. Like Safe Harbour was very special and important to me because it was my first big one.
Right.
And I was playing a character who was completely opposite of who I am. She was a refugee, she was Iraqi, she was a mother, she was Muslim, all these things that I am not. And so I had to work really, really hard to find her. She was a mother who lost her child. And so I'm really proud of the work I did on that one. On the Ropes, I played a boxing coach. I am a boxer. I can't even walk.
Yeah.
So like, I had to train my ass off for that. 3 months I worked with a boxing coach and doing weights and all that kind of stuff. And then again with this one, like the trauma that this character's gone through, like this character was in jail for 12 years. Like, you know, I've approached every role the same way, which means I am just as proud and I've given just as much to every single one. And I hope that always translates, but it doesn't, even if it doesn't, I'm just as proud. I'm equally proud.
Nice.
That pretty nicely brings us to the topic of what you brought, because how did you how do you find it different working at the lab to working in the real world? How do you bring the work you do at the Actors Lab to a role? How much do you bring? How much do you change it? How do you translate it to an actual set?
And by the way, also, how much time did you get roughly for each project? Were they different? Were they roughly the same?
No, it's always roughly the same, and it's not a lot of time at all. I mean, it depends on how early you get cast.
Right.
That can change the thing. You can change it. Or it depends on how you work. Like, as soon as I get my hands on the script, I'm getting to work. Hi there. Who's in the background?
It's okay.
And so, you know, it depends. Like some projects, the scripts are ready to go and kind of fully developed, and so I could, like Safe Harbour, I think I had about a month or 2 months, which was so indulgent, and like that was a great amount of time, and I could explore and find a lot of the things before. Whereas, and On the Ropes, the same, but with Troppo, the scripts, I only had episode 1 and 2 by the time we started filming, so I didn't even know where we were going at that point. So I had to work very differently to the way that I usually work, and I'm a control freak, and I had to surrender to the process because I couldn't work the way I usually did. I also found with Troppo, given my personal battles in the past 12 months, which I'm not going to go into, I had a lot of personal stuff to draw from, and I didn't have to. When your life is more traumatic than the roles you are playing at times, you just use what's there. You don't have to create something if it's not necessary.
You don't have to bring sand to the beach.
No, exactly. And so, and there was lots of sand already there. And so I just, and because there was not much time, I just trusted that that they cast me for whatever reason they did, and that it is in me, and that I've worked enough that that instinctively it's there. And so I didn't have to train for 3 months the way that I did with On the Ropes or whatever, but there were some scenes in particular that I came to Pete with. I took it to the lab, and I worked the way that we work, and there was like some scenes in particular where I'm on some substances, and so it was about getting it in my body and like finding that, and like working through specific monologues, and so that on the day I'd done the work, so I could just drop in the way that I needed to. And that was like so useful, because as much as I love the way that we work at the lab, it's indulgent. You don't have that time on set. You just don't. And you can't be arrogant about it. Like, you have to work to the confines of the job itself. And usually it's, I was working like 15-hour days, 5 days a week, and having the weekend to prep for the following week. And I was in nearly every scene. So I didn't have the luxury to really go in depth into every single scene. I had to just like find it, grit my teeth, and just trust.
Yeah.
Because you're like, mostly like you block it, you'll shoot the rehearsal, and if you're lucky, you get 2 takes, maybe 3, and then you move on. And so if you are not ready, if you haven't come to play, then they'll be packed up and moved on to the next set, and you'll be like, what did we just do? And so you have to be ready. You have to be ready at all times. And it's when you are the lead and you're in every scene every day, you're in it. I was her more than I was me. And so it's much harder as a guestie to come in and like drop in it and then leave it. Whereas I was, it was easy, because like once I put on her boots, it's always shoes for me. The minute I stick on shoes, and her shoes were like heavy. I had these like Doc Martens, the thick ones, and so they just grounded me. They really like grounded me. And she, this character was so much about the physicality. She was fully tatted. Like, she didn't look like me. This character didn't look like me. And so that helped as well. So, yeah. But so there are definitely, so it's about doing all the work in Peter's class so that when you are on set and you're under the immense pressure and you have to work quickly, you're able to go, okay, I need this thing. And how do I get this thing? I know how to get this thing because when I did it in class, that works. Let me try that. And so
it's interesting because we know each other so well here as actors. I think all 4 of us know each other well. When Nicole called me and we worked together, we didn't run the lines and do this. We just said, prepare this ingredient, prepare this ingredient, prepare this ingredient. And then Nicole said to me, I'll go do this on my own. And then she called me and she goes, oh, we just shot it. And I thought, great, that's it. And you know each other so well, all of us do. It's easy to work like this, where if I get someone that doesn't understand how we work and I explain it to them, it's like me saying, hey, have a cup of coffee with a Theni. It doesn't make sense to them. You know what I'm saying? But also because you have what we call an actor's body, then a choice could be made in that moment. And there's a very good chance it'll land somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not up here. You know what I'm saying? But you've all paid your freaking dues to do that. It takes a lifetime, And
that's the thing. Like the dream is to be able to get to in front of the camera where we get to in class, where it's like, it doesn't matter if we make the wrong choice. Exactly. Let's just see where it lands, and just to trust in the process. And that's the dream. And you don't always get there, but sometimes you get there and you feel it, and you feel the energy in the room shift as well when you get there.
Right.
But it's about having confidence enough in your craft and your technique that you can just go, I'm just going to play. Like, I don't know where it's going to land.
And I'm sure there's some scenes like the one that we talked about that, there's certain scenes that are more important or more interesting than others. And if you land those ones, you feel like I've done a great job in this gig. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. And you have to, when you're shooting so many scenes, you have to pick, like, there are some you just like, I trust that my body knows enough about that, and also it's like, what is this scene for? And like sometimes it's just about giving information, and so then there are active things you do in those scenes, but there are some where like they're pivotal scenes, and so yeah, you work harder on them. And I sat in the inebriation the whole time, to the point where the first AD came up to me. I was drinking a non-alcoholic beer. I requested non-alcoholic beers, so that I could just get alcohol in my body. And she was like, "Are you? It's illegal for you to drink." I was like, "I'm not drunk. This isn't like." They thought I was drunk. I was like, "No." They're like, "But you're drinking." I'm like, "There's no alcohol in this."
Yeah. By the way, you'd be amazed at how many people have come to the lab and seen people do the drug exercise, the drunk exercise. I've had people write me vicious emails saying, "I'm disgusted by your class. Everyone was drinking." And I said, "No, I'm not kidding you. At least 3 or 4 times it's happened." And I said, "No, we're acting. It's not real."
Yeah.
And I never hear back from them.
I know someone, I won't mention names, who we did the drunk exercise and didn't understand it. And so her bottle had pure vodka in it.
I know who it is. I heard you.
Oh my God. I need to know after.
She literally just didn't understand.
Does the name start with N?
Yes.
Yes.
With the what?
No.
We'll talk later.
No, let's say it now.
Okay,
I'm going to have to beep out N. Jesus Christ. Anyway, hey, I just got a quick...
hammered, by the way. That's true.
Hey, there's something that you just sort of brought up then, which, I don't know, we haven't really spoken about, but the communication that you've been having with Pete. So recently I've been reading about this language of enthusiasm, that it's sort of the brass tacks of a language of enthusiasm will always make up for the gap of not understanding what you don't know. Okay. And there's a language between the actors, and particularly you, Nick, with Pete, that if Pete was to call up someone else, or if someone was to call Pete and say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. Hey, how do I go through it?" And Pete would be able to explain it, but perhaps there would be something that doesn't really necessarily get through, but does get through between the time that you've put into your body, the time that you put into your sensory, the time that you put into the whole career that you have, and you're able to sort of understand Pete's sort of guidance because you have that build up of language.
Well, it's also about, like, Pete and I have a shorthand because we have worked together so closely and so intimately that, like, he knows me and he knows when I'm bullshitting. He knows when I'm acting. And so, and that you can't manufacture that, or like that has to happen slowly and over time. And so I think what's important is, that's why study and finding your mentors and your coaches, and it doesn't have to be an acting teacher or an acting school, but like finding the people who have more experience in your craft than you, that you can go to, and in all facets of your life, really, that you find your tribe, and that you find people who understand you and understand life, and that whatever the life is for this, it's acting, so that you can have that conversation and it doesn't just happen. And Peter isn't for everyone. We know that.
Yeah.
He's not for everyone. And even for me, when I first started
this
with
is
Peter,
today's class.
even like when I first started Peter's class, he rubbed me up the wrong way. I didn't quite understand him. I thought he was abrasive and aggressive and arrogant, and I was so intimidated.
I actually liked all that.
So it's
I liked how he was an asshole.
But past that, like for me, what sold it, like I love you, Peter, but you weren't the one who sold it. What sold it was watching these incredible actors up there doing scene work. And I was like, I have never seen work like this before in my life, not on television, not in theater. It was so honest and raw and connected. I was like, that's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to grab someone by the fucking heart and pull it out from the audience. Right. That's what I want to be able to do. And if that's what he's teaching, sign me in. Like,
and by the way, to your, not just to your credit, to Luke's credit, to all of you guys here, people need to know this. They will get to know you for Safe Harbour, for On the Ropes, for Troppo. What they won't get to know is for each one of those, you've done at least a dozen scenes, and 10 dozen exercises of this and this and this. It's insane. Like I go to the Melbourne Actors Lab Facebook page and I just look at the photos.
Yeah.
And I look at all of them. I see you 1,000 years ago,
Or
literally.
even like, not
know,
even doing like 1,000 scenes, doing the one scene for 12 months.
And I remember that, and I know we know certain people, yeah, bang, right? And we know certain people that you did the fucking scene with, and you go, oh my God, you know, it's those moments, spending time together, and a big trust factor. I'll give you an example. Nicole would know this. It was in Brunswick again. You came, it was for Safe Harbour, remember? And we talked about when she lost the baby. And,
I still I'm thinking about.
I remember this exact moment, and it's
doing it at the lab more than I do about doing the scene on the day. I remember the moment in the lab.
I remember the moment, and what happened is me and both of you know what I've been through, and this it's what I'm looking for is it's important for every artist to know this. None of us know the answer. None of us know the road. It literally is trial and error. And Nicole was on the boat, the refugee boat, and she had created her baby. I think we gave her some shitty blanket we found on the ground. God knows what it was. And that was the baby. And I remember a friend of mine who came from Vietnam on a refugee boat. And he said to me that the waves were so big, they were holding each other side by side to create a wall of bodies. So when the waves crashed, it didn't get in the water. And he told me that night, 3 babies went overboard. So as I'm talking to Nicole, I remember that moment and I said, hey, as I'm talking to you, a wave just came and you lost your baby. And her face was like gone. And I said to her, that's it. That just happened. So it wasn't, you see, we just trusted each other and it went there. And that was, obviously it stayed with both of us, you know what I'm saying? And you go, but you can't, to find that little moment there, takes a lot of trust with each other and a lot of, let's go down this path. And if we find nothing, it's okay. Let's go down that path. And if we find nothing, it's okay. And then you'll find it. There's no book. It's just trial and error.
So, but by doing that exercise with you on the day where the producers were there, it was obviously it was a very important scene. We were out in the middle of the ocean. There's so much going on, extras, everything. There was no time to find it on the day, but as soon as I hit that water, my body remembered and I was in instantly.
Done. Beautiful.
And I wouldn't have found that moment if I hadn't have done it in your class.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't have. And so it's everything. It's everything because there is no time in television, in Australian television, and I think American television too, from what I know. There's no time. You have to come ready to work.
To swim, and
you have to have done your work. You have to. Otherwise, you're memorizing your lines, you're hitting your mark, you're saying your line, and you're going home. And sometimes that's all you can do. Literally, sometimes that's all you can do. But that's not fun, and that's not why I'm an actor. And so it is in the homework. That's where the pleasure is, because it just moves so fast. And so I guess what's important and what I learned, what was really important for me, things that I've taken from the lab that I use and that stick with me, because a lot of Australian actors and directors, they don't work that way. And so there's a lot of not looking down or like turning their nose up or whatever, but there's definitely an energy of like, oh, I don't quite know how to deal with you, or like, I don't know where to put you, or like, I don't know what it is you're doing. This is kind of weird. And so if I didn't have the confidence that you instilled in me, Pete, about like, you're gonna look weird, you're gonna be the weird one, and but fuck them. And like, it's not about that, it's about whatever it is you need to do your best work. That's what you do, not at the expense of like being mean or rude to other people. Like, you still have a responsibility to be cordial and respectful of everyone and everyone's job. It's not about like, I'm the actor and I'm doing, no, it's not that. It's about explaining like, hey, for this scene, like, I'm going to be X, Y, and Z, just so you know. And then they're like, okay, cool, whatever you need, that's what you need, done.
Yeah,
and then you just go off and you do it. And you don't apologize. Like,
that's important, not to apologize. You got to do your work.
Because there is so, like, you can, sometimes it's like, with Safe Harbour, for instance, I thought these people killed my daughter. And so I couldn't sit there at lunch and chat or like go for a drink on the weekend. I couldn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. And so I needed to completely distance myself. And we were lucky that Glendon supported that and like almost encouraged that. He would do things like seat us in separate areas for lunch. Or I remember
That's nice.
One day he had every one of the Australian contingency in their own trailers and put all of us Arabs in one trailer.
Oh, that's nice.
And I got into the trailer and I see the boys, Robert and Hazim, and I was like, I see what's happened to you. Jacqueline McKenzie comes in, she knocks on the door and she's like, darling, she's like, this is unacceptable. Come with me. You are sharing my trailer. I was like, no, Jackie, it's fine.
There's
it's
a
fine.
reason.
Like,
No,
there's this guilt and like embarrassment on her. And I was like, Jacqueline, this is great. Like, this is how it should be. And don't even worry about it. They were so embarrassed. And we were like, fuck yeah. This is great. It's so good.
By the way, keep talking. I'm going to go get your charger. Shut up. Keep talking.
Well, that's I love that they were actually had the artistic intelligence to understand the emotions that the characters were going through, and that the actors sort of needed that sort of, I wouldn't say help, but maybe a lift, or maybe some sort of nudge.
It's assistance, or like support. It's support. It's
support. That's a great way to put it.
In your method, I suppose. And not all directors will give you that. Not all directors will give you that. Like, some are just. I've been very fortunate, and Glendon was very sensitive to especially me, what I needed, and so he was amazing. Like, I just remember there were some scenes where like my character is sitting on the bathroom floor throwing up because she's pregnant, crying, and he was sitting next to me in tears, whispering direction to me, and I'm like, who is this man? Like, it was just so amazing. But sometimes you don't have that, and sometimes you have to do good work in spite of the energy around you. And so that's where Peter's, his whole, the way that he preaches that just do your work. Don't worry about what's going on around you. Don't worry about how others are working. You just do what you need to do to get there.
You know what? And that's the sort of approach that I've actually taken into corporate world and university world, and that sort of attitude, because even though I learned that at acting, and I learned about the whole sensory experience that you're going through with these characters and everything else. Some of those things, I sort of transition them into the spot of communications in corporate world. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been able to sort of distinguish myself within my field of being able to sort of bring a different flavor. And that's all stuff that I learned through mainly sensory than anything else.
Yeah. And that's the thing about what we learn at the lab. You can use it in every facet of your job, in every facet of your life. I think it's just about like being connected and grounded in the reality, whatever that is in that moment. Like, I think that's what's really important. And that's certainly how I live my life, especially now, just from like an open heart space and from a place of love and enthusiasm and passion. Like, that's how I live my life now. And so if it doesn't fit that, or you don't fit that, then you're not for me, or it's not for me. And that's in all facets. And I think that's really important. This idea that like it changes when you are working, or when you are on set, or when you're at your job. No, it's like it should just it should see through all facets of your life, I think.
And it's interesting that you mentioned before about costume, because putting on those boots flit you into that character.
Yeah.
And there's a real power for that as well. Can you sort of explore a little bit of that dynamic? Because I just thought it was really interesting. You said that you put on the boots, they felt heavy, and you were sort of there in a way, or helped you to get there.
It was interesting with her because we were shooting on the Gold Coast, but it's set in far north Queensland, and so I was really nervous about whether, because we are not shooting in the place that it is set, and the extras are not from the place where it's set, and we are not from the place that it's set, that we'll lose that. And so even the way that she dresses, I'm like, it's hot. Like, are these the shoes? And originally they weren't the shoes. I had these other shoes that were lighter, and I wore them for the first scene. And then actually one of the producers came up and said, we want her higher. We want her to meet his eye line, Thomas Jane's eye line. And so he suggested that they put me in something high. And so we went back to the drawing board and we found these boots. And as soon as I put them on, I was like, oh yeah, this feels better. And there was a heaviness. And because she's not kind to herself. This character, there is no self-care or self-love. There's a lot of self-hatred and fear. And so even the fact that she would choose these kind of boots in that kind of heat says so much about who she is. And so by the end of the day, I would be dragging my fucking feet because I was so hot and so tired, and I'd have bruises around my ankles. And I was like, she would do this. She would do this to herself. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think, I mean, one of the first exercises we do is like you walk around the space as your character.
Yeah. And
different characters walk from some people from their chest, some people from their groin, some people drag their feet. There's all the different things. And yeah, I think that's like Meisner is internal. Like, how do I feel? Does it make sense for the character? Put your energy on the other person and connect, which I still use and is still my first love, I must admit. Mm-hmm. But method and the way that, and what Peter taught us, finding the character through the physicality and through the way that they live their lives, what they eat, how they dress, how they move through their world, and how that flavors the character, I think is so important, because place is important. Yeah. It is so important. And to not forget that, actually, that's one thing Thomas Jane, he was very good at heat. Like there was a pace, he would never speed up his pace. He was like, someone like, hurry up, let's go. But he just wouldn't. And so every time I looked at him, I was reminded about the heat, because he was so slow, and like, even the way he talked, he was like really slow, and like, wow. And he was very good at that. Very good. I mean, Thomas, I feel like the way Thomas approaches the character is very similar to the way that we do at the lab. And so it was interesting and comforting to watch another actor work in a similar way and be less apologetic about it, because, the Hollywood star is also being crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you mentioned Thomas Jane, because Pete, I remember you talking about him like 5 or 6 years ago. Right. In your class.
I was in class with him in Mark Marno's at Strasbourg. And Tom was always the kind of guy that would get on stage and sit there for fucking half an hour not saying a line. And you'd go, Tom, can you go to fucking stage so I can do my monologue and get out of here and go party? That was me. And I'd go to class going, oh, fuck, Tom's on stage. Here we go. 40 minutes of sitting in a desk or walking around as the character. And I'd go, can I just do my monologue so I can hear what bullshit the teacher has to say so I can get the fuck out of here?
That's so funny.
Because I lived across the street from Strasbourg, my apartment was the party place. And Tom would turn up. I got photos of Tom somewhere in the party animal, but Tom would be dedicated when he came to the work like that. And that was amazing to watch,
Tom was like, I must admit, it was really nice to have someone who, from day one, there was a scene in particular where, because of budget, we couldn't afford something. And so they took that out of the scene, but it was so integral to the scene, right. This thing. And he fought, which then gave me the courage to find my voice to fight for it too. And we got it. We ended up getting it back. And I'm so glad we did. It really worked out. It was very important to the dynamic of these characters, to how they meet, to all of the things. But when I saw him it was literally the first rehearsal, and he fought for these things, because he was like, what are we doing if we don't, what did he say? It was something about like, if I don't fight for this character and for this world, then who will? And so
that's nice. That's nice to hear.
So yeah, it was interesting, and it was nice to work with someone of that caliber and from another, because the American market still to this day for me, it feels like the moon. Like it.
Yeah,
feels,
it's not. It's not. I don't think it'll be the moon for you after this. I think America will be knocking on your door after this. I really
inshallah.
do.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well,
but like, it was nice to know that he works the way we work. You know.
Yeah, I think it will be they'll be knocking on your door. You know what I'm saying? Right?
Look, I just hope that I get to continue to work and do the thing I love and be happy and healthy. And that's all.
Good to hear. That's what we all want. That's what we all want. I don't know if you guys can hear the moaning and everything else happening in the background. I'm actually looking after some dogs, plus my dog here. So they're really noisy. They are. So if anyone's hearing that,
That's what it is.
that's what it is.
Oh,
That's what it is. That's what it is. All that groaning. There's one dog that just sort of groans the whole time. He slept on my head last night. So yeah, just letting you all know that.
About what you do in your private life.
Yeah, I know what I do by myself here in Torquay.
By the way, since we had a brief break here, my computer's at like 3%. It's going to drop dead. If it does, I'll log on with my iPad.
Yeah,
it's going to drop dead, Pete. It's at 3%. Go and fix it.
Yeah, I'm downloading Zoom application on my iPad as I'm talking.
Sorry, listen, Peter Carlos is an incredible teacher, but he's shit at technology.
You know what?
Shit at technology.
The fact that you're even running these, that you guys are
express this enough, and I tell people all day long. My darling wife knows. Outside this world, I'm a complete fuck up.
Oh, we know.
I can't change. I paid a guy in LA who's homeless to change my tire one day. Because I can't change a tire. I can't function as a human being outside the acting world.
I mean,
that's why I love you so much.
You can't be good at everything.
And people think I'm bullshit. I'm saying, no, it's true.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. Hey, Nick, so you've given us some really good little gold nuggets in terms of the way that you've, been working with now and how you still use the things that you learned. And there was a couple of words that sort of that came that you kept on repeating, which was about trust and it was about play. The play aspect of being an actor, particularly with someone who, you would have the pressure. To remember to play, I think, is one of the golden ingredients to not only doing what you do in the craft level and doing it to a professional entertaining level, but also just to really enjoy the moment as an actor. Do you find that when you do play that it is more enjoyable? Do you have to remind yourself to play, or is that just something that's natural?
Oh God, no. No, my God, especially with something like this, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure, and I hadn't worked for a long time. And so I wasn't, what do you call it? Like match ready. Right. And so, no, I had to constantly remind myself that, like, bitch, this is what you love to do. Enjoy it. Like, enjoy it.
Nice.
You don't know when the next time, and like, don't complain that you've been on set for 15 hours or that you're whatever, like, forget all of that. This is what you've worked so hard for so long. Just play and enjoy this time.
Playing in general, it is something that as an adult becomes an art form. Because as a kid, Pete, you've said this quite a bit. When you're a kid, you can sort of get into that moment, you can get into that presence. But as an adult, you can't always be fucked playing.
Right.
I'll tell you what, guys, since you brought that up, the other day I saw the little guy and he was outside with a stick and with the top, the lid of the laundry basket. And this motherfucker goes out there, spends hours, especially during lockdown, and he's combating imaginary creatures, and he's got a whole discussion going on. And I sit to look at him, it just gives me a look and keeps going like I don't exist. And I thought, that's acting in this moment. He's convinced that he's on the moon chasing dinosaurs. No airs about him, no ego, very, very specific. And I thought, that's what we lose. We lose that trust factor to just go with it sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we get nervous.
Well, because society tells us that adults shouldn't play. And so it's about like, and that, you know, when you're an actor, it's so professional and it's like you have to be legit. But actually, no, fuck all of that. We have like, it is the innocence and the impulse. That's the thing that makes you a good actor. Anyone can recite lines and hit their marks, and that's boring. And so it is about playing. It is about that, and remembering that just because you get a job and someone is paying you to do it, don't lose that thing, because that's the thing that got you the job.
Yeah.
And with actors, it can really spill off the stage as well. With the Australian Shakespeare Company, we do the Shakespeare in the Botanical Gardens every year. And there's this strip of concrete with lines, and there's a very serious downball, handball, foursquare, whatever you want to call it, competition that happens before every show.
Right.
And it's, you know, for about 20 minutes. And then when it's 5 minutes to mic up, it becomes sudden death and someone wins. And there's always the top competitive players, but it's like, it's just normal to us, but anyone else comes along, they see a group of adults up to, 60-year-olds in this really super competitive downball tournament.
Yeah. And that's what
I
it
love
is
that.
about, like not worrying what society deems right or like, respectable adult.
Yeah.
It's about
Absolutely.
getting all of that and just playing as if you are a child.
It frees you up. It frees you up so much.
Absolutely. It's everything. It's everything.
Yeah, I love it.
You'll find that. By the way, that's what's beautiful about our work. I think that's what's rewarding. You literally get to, as Nicole said, to walk in other people's shoes and literally get away with murder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can experience them, you can do it, and then you pack it up and you get on with your life. But you're living the character, and it's to put your insight into it, and you learn from them also. I think it's so rewarding to do that as a freaking gig,
I think so. I mean, it's, it's cheaper than therapy, but it is. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know. Is it cheaper than therapy? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, acting classes are cheaper than therapy.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are. I know how much a therapist costs these days.
Although if you listen to Peter, it's not therapy.
It's not therapy.
You know what they say? Sell a man a theatre ticket, he'll be poor for a day. Teach a man to make theatre, he'll be poor for a lifetime.
For a life.
Happy, but poor.
But happy. But happy.
Alone,
there we go. I think that might be a good place to start wrapping it up. I'd like to thank our guest, Nicole Chamoun. Thank you for Chamoun for coming on. And it's been great to pick your brain. And I mean, that's amazing to see the things that you've learned and transition them into, the career that you have at the moment and that we've seen. Dennis, Pete, anything that we want to ask Nick before we go?
I just want to say to Nicole and to all of you, by the way, there's a core group of people that for me will always be the heart of the lab. And you guys have been there where the lab didn't exist. You guys have put in the work. I think I've had private discussions with all of you where your lives were falling apart. I think I remember when Nicole came back from New York and she said, oh, this happened. And I said, hey, all I can do is offer you a space to fucking work. You know what I'm saying? All right. It was in the kitchen in Brunswick, and I think for me, that honestly, that's what, especially now when I've been through my own shit, I look back at that, I go, that's who we are. That's what we as a group have achieved. You know what I'm saying? And it's absolutely beautiful, and we're going to go back and forth in our own shit, and we'll remember these moments. And now it's literally a matter of going from the one project to the next. And as Nicole said, you go through your own shit in life and you have no more time and room for pretense anymore. You just want honesty in your work. You want honesty in your life, and you just want to get out there and work, and it's got nothing to do with money or status. you just want to throw yourself in that character and give the most honest representation of that character so people learn from that character's experience. And I think all of us here live by that code. No issue, because I know if tomorrow everything fell apart, we'd find a little shitty place to do a fucking scene or a play or a short film, you know what I'm saying? And just to move ahead. And that makes my day, guys. It honestly makes my day, you know? So I look at all of you and I go, oh, beautiful. It adds, especially for me personally, it just adds a glow to the end of the day. And I go,
Yeah.
We've arrived. I mean, we really have.
And I've said this to you, Peter, many times. Like, what we have is family now. We've created a community and a tribe and family. Like we have been through shit
a lot.
Now,
yeah.
And we have each other. You know.
Yeah. And, you know, it's one of these things that any old, you know, like I said, the original old lab actors, you know, they were stuck with us for life. We can text each other in the middle of the night and say, hey, I've got this going on. Hey, I'm in the character. Hey, and it literally is, sometimes it could take 10 seconds to just go, hey, try this, try that. You can't take that away. You literally can't lose that, you know, and it stays with you. And that's beautiful, man. You can't buy that, you know, it just is there. And it comes from years of working and doing and commitment and discipline. Guys, we're disciplined. We have that fucking discipline, you know, because it's so someone said to me once, no, not once, more than once, you should be making more money at the lab. They said to me, you're looking for that one actor that's going to dedicate 3 years of their life so they become an actor. And I said, at this stage of my life, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I'd rather find that one person that's going to go, hey, are we here long haul? Are we actually going to do this? Then just do something else, because I don't want to get up for that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
like this morning, I literally had 2 actors and I thought, great, let's just fucking get to work, you know?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like,
It
I mean,
makes sense.
it's not going to pay your bills and you're always going to be pissed off.
No, that's not, it doesn't pay your bills, and you just negotiate and you get pissed off, and, you know, you look at each other and you kind of mumble and, you know, do you want to go out tonight? No, not really, you know? But look, we're not stupid at the same time. By the way, I think you guys will enjoy this. I've been going for obvious reasons, like Athenia and all that stuff. I've been going to an amazing therapist, and I'll put his name out. His name is Dr. Dan Taylor, and he really helped me. And he's been seeing me for about 6 months now. Hasn't even charged me a penny, to be honest with you. He hasn't. He just reached out to me. He goes, I want to help you with grief. And one day we spoke about money, and here's how beautifully he said it. He said, I want you to learn that money is an exchange of energy. You put out energy, and that's your energy back. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he goes, you put out all your energy. It's not like you go, okay, this actor's not paying me. I won't, you know, we've got actors here that God knows, you know, I don't even know they ever received a fucking bill. You know what I'm saying? And it's just life. And you go, well, yep. By the way, hey, you, I'm going to do this. You all know this. Since we're here. There we go. Yeah, you, Nicole, right?
What's happening right now?
I'm going to announce this, guys. As you all know, I get a lot of people, and they turn up and they go, I don't have any money and all that kind of shit. And I don't want to announce this, you know, fucking people to grow up. I want to announce a Nicole Chamoun scholarship. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people come to me and they go, oh, I want to become Nicole Chamoun. And I go, yeah, I've had this happen, Nicole. I've had this happen. And I say to them this, are you willing to spend 8 years on this fucking stage with no one knowing you? And you know me, I will give them a year free classes if they fucking turn up, right?
Hey, listen, ain't no one is becoming fucking Nicole Chamoun. Let's just be clear.
Yes, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. One guy came to me, goes, I want, you know, that safe harbor girl. And I said, yeah, I know her. Right? Okay. And he asked the wrong question, but right. He asked me about contracts, and I said, no, don't worry about contracts, you know. But I'll let you know. I'm going to stage it, because I'm going to give those free classes away anyway, and I don't advertise that, but I'm going to do it. But I think it's nice if we have certain lab actors to go, this is in honor of that person, you know.
I mean, that's very sweet. I mean, if there's any like this, like, I mean,
it's going to happen. Because I love you. Look, not only I love you as a person, I actually love your work. You know what I'm saying?
I hope so, because most of my work is because of you.
Yeah, but still, but I'm.
You don't like my
love you as a
work.
person. I love you as a person. I got a lot of respect for you. You know, but I watch your work, and I'm dying to see Troppo for obvious reasons, because there's certain scenes I want to see. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna see that. Let's go. Shut up! I want to see this fucking scene. You know.
Oh God, no! I don't want you to watch this scene.
No, I want to see it, but I love your work. I think it's nice to do that. You know. All right. And it's like, you know, I love, like, I've seen Dennis do so many fucking plays, and I love watching him on fucking stage. You know, I could watch Dennis any fucking day. You know.
And I second that.
Yeah, I like
Thanks,
I've
guys.
literally seen every fucking performance he's done, and I don't watch it like a director. I don't watch it. I actually put my mind to rest, and I go, I'm gonna enjoy this fucking play, and I could sit there watching it all day. It's beautiful work. You know, we all have that work ethic, and that's a testament for where we are. You know.
Mhm.
So I just had to say that. Absolutely love. And it's not because you guys are lab actors, nothing to do with that. There's other lab actors, trust me, I could go fuck off, you know. But all right. But I watch your work and I admire it, and I go, beautiful. You know what's beautiful about it? I don't see the work. That makes me happy, because then it becomes work for me. I just want to see a fucking show and enjoy it. I don't want to sit there judging it. I don't want to go look at that. That's good work. I want to lose myself in your work. And so far I've done it. You know what I'm saying?
How much of my work have you fucking watched?
Okay, you know, I'll tell you which one I haven't seen. I haven't seen On the Ropes. I haven't seen On the Ropes. That one there.
Bullshit! That you have not seen the others.
I have seen the others. I've seen all of them. All right, I have seen them. Yeah, I haven't seen On the Ropes. That's the only one I haven't seen. All right, but I've seen the others. Of course, I have. You know, what's it called? Safe Harbor. I've seen all the other ones. I've seen. You know,
she's trying to pull an Adele. Yeah, is that it?
And I've seen your work on stage. And I've seen your work on stage, which is brilliant.
You have seen my work on stage, and to be honest with you, that's more important.
Yeah.
I think.
You know.
Well, that's the foundation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You know, it is the foundation. Hey, Dennis, anything that you want to say? Do you want to give me a scholarship or anything like that, mate?
Yeah, I would like to announce right now that I am installing at my house a Luc Emmanuel cookie sponsorship. It means you have to buy all the cookies for my house, but everyone who comes gets to know, oh, look, this is from the Luc Emmanuel cookie sponsorship program.
So after they have the cookie, they actually won't remember getting the scholarship anyway. So
that's it.
I like it. Well, you know what? This has been a fantastic podcast. Nick, thank you very much for your time, and also for your wisdom and sharing your journey.
Anything for the lab.
And enjoy Queensland.
Yeah, enjoy Queensland.
I'm in Byron now.
Oh, you're in Byron. You're in Byron now. Byron. Jeez, really hard life in Byron. Are they
like neighbors or some shit?
Say hi to Chris Hemsworth for me.
I can't cross the border now. I'm across the border.
Do we still have that restriction shit?
Yeah, we do. No, you can come. You can come to Byron, but you can't. You couldn't go to the Gold Coast. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dennis and Pete, thank you again for your time. Always really good. I'm going to be throwing this up on Sunday. So I've taken a couple of screenshots. We're going to promote this a little bit. It's going to be released on the 27th of this week. And we're going to do a little bit of promo for it. So stay tuned for it. Or maybe, wait, that doesn't work because they've already listened to it. So I'm going to just close this out now because
beautiful.
That's the type of professional I am. Yeah.
We are so fucking perfect. We even went through 2 camps.
I'll be honest. This was way more this was slicker than I expected. So well done, guys.
Trust me, it was slicker than we expected too.
Nicole, it's because of these two. I
know that, Peter. I know that.
I just fucking turn up and I go, what? What are we doing? Who's got the recording?
There we go. Okay, we're going to sign off right now.
Dennis hasn't vanished.
Wait, soon.
You know.
What was that, Pete?
Just cut him off, Luke. It's best just to cut him off.
Yeah, Dennis hasn't vanished. Dennis always vanished.
Oh yeah, Dennis just stayed all the time. But you did. You vanished this time. Technically. Okay, this has been another episode of the Peter Cullis podcast. I'd like to thank our guests, Nick, and also Dennis and Pete. My name is Luke. Stay tuned on the Facebook Melbourne Actors Lab page, and also you can find Peter Cullis on Twitter as well. Make sure you keep on Twitter. There's some questions. And
we're on Twitter.
Yeah, we're on Twitter. We're on Twitter.
Yeah, just search the Peter Carlos podcast or just search Peter Carlos on Twitter.
There we
Like
go.
we're on Twitter.
Okay.
That's actually a great.
Hold on
Do
a second.
follow.
I need to feel something. Hold on.
That's actually a great place to follow us to find out what's going on. And
I'm not on Twitter. How do I?
Yeah, you are. We tell you.
you are. You
Okay.
just don't know it.
You just don't
I'm
know.
in the right direction. I want to be on.
You
fucking
are on Twitter. Don't say that.
I'll
You are
find
on
Twitter.
Twitter.
Right.
Anyway, signing off. See you later, guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye. Take care, all of you.